to do. We want to show how four young guys that had an idea starting this business, we want to document this.
You can market and develop a brand that is very marketing-ish and all of this, but the product needs to be good. So
And also it's important to mention that creation of the products was made remotely.
So we are live. So welcome to the Right Moods podcast. This is our first podcast ever. We have no idea what we're doing. We're just going for it. We are the Right Moods. We are a candle business. We started a few months ago, and we want to use this podcast as an opportunity to share knowledge that we are learning and experiences, and just talk. We want to do a little introduction and explain who we are. Someone wants to go first?
Venga, I go. I'm Pablo. I'm a guy from Spain. Right now I'm living in Algeciras. It's like in the south of Spain. And yeah, on my personal side, I've studied sports sciences, and now I'm really focused on sharing what I'm learning in my social media, and I am also working with this team on this candle business. And if I have mistakes talking, sorry, I'm just learning English, and you'll see my progress in this. What about you, Chris?
Sounds good, Pablo. Thanks. So I'm Chris. Nice to meet you all. I'm from Germany originally, but now I live in Poland. I study medicine. I actually met Andy and Manu in high school. And then I met Pablo when he was here in Poland for an exchange. And then I visited him in Spain, where we lived together. So yeah, this is how we all connected. I'm very excited for this podcast. I'm very excited about the connections we're going to make with you guys. And I hope we can explain something that might be helpful or just interesting to you. Let's see how it goes.
Yes.
nice. Hey guys, I just wanted to say, like, you might be wondering why the hell are we talking about this when the title is like how to grow the business for like 2023 for Kingdoms and all of that. But don't worry, we'll get to that. I just thought that we thought that it was going to be valuable to just kind of introduce ourselves to know what is the business that we have been developing and how we develop it for 2023. So don't worry, we'll get to that. But yeah, I think it's good to present ourselves, the team behind the brand of the Right Moods. And yeah, my name is Manu. I was friends with all of the team for like a while now, like Pablo since childhood, and then Andy and Chris from high school. And yeah, I finished university this year. I'm just working also in London, doing a lot of like work projects at the same time, really busy. And yeah, I'm really excited to do that. Or usually on the brand, I work on like business development and things like that, content creation. So yeah, should we just jump and like talk about what the brand is and what we stand for?
Yeah, actually, before that, because I think we have not addressed something which is very obvious, which is that we are doing this podcast remotely. Podcasts usually are done in the same place, but because of the nature of our where we live and our business, we are doing everything remotely. So it's important to notice. That's why we have this setup where everyone is in a different place, and we're doing this through special software. We'll see how it works and how it looks in the end. But just an important remark, so like people that are watching don't see like this is why is this like this? It's because we're in different places. And also, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Andy. I'm a currently fourth year mechanical engineering student. Nothing to do with business, but that has also been a passion of mine since I was a little kid. I would always be making stuff at home. And that's why I pursued that career. And on the side, when I met Chris and Manu, especially, I developed that sort of interest for business, and we started doing some projects together, and then it has led to where we are now, quite a few years later. And I met Pablo through Chris and him meeting in Poland, and then also in Spain, and then we just all connected, and we became very good friends, and we're working together on this. So it's quite cool and quite exciting. And after this little introduction, we can maybe introduce the brand. Who wants to introduce the brand? Who are we? What are we? What are we trying to do? Because we just started. I mean, Manu, if you want to,
Yeah.
just go for it.
Yeah, honestly, I think like even the description of what we are as a brand can change in the future because we are like so new to this.
Hmm.
But I think this is also the cool part, right? That's also why we're recording this podcast, is because we are just trying to document our journey in this business and how we grow it and how we develop a business in a creative way. So everything we're trying to make it all flexible and anything can change. But what are we now? Well, the right moods, I would say it is a Kindle business like no other in the way that it's not the candles that you will imagine, right? They are not the typical candles that blend in with your living room and they're focused on scent and minimalism. We look at all of this and we're setting away like fuck it, essentially. We were like, we want to do something different. The way I sometimes think about it is like we want to do candles, quote unquote, for like the TikTok culture, for like young people, super bold, colorful, creative, full of messages, and essentially relying on the idea that candles are much more than a scent or minimalist labels. They actually can be essentially a powerful product to inspire much more than that, inspire like
Hmm.
connections with people and between people as a gift. We think it can be much more. So essentially, we're a Kindle business doing things a little bit different, a bit more creative, focus on the message of the Kindle and the graphics on it. Obviously, we need to acknowledge that we develop Kindles which are different moods, right? That's what the brand is about. The right moods is essentially a way to tell you that we develop Kindles for different moods, right? So we will, for example, have developed a candle which is the focus mood, and then the whole thing of the candle is about being able to focus, right, better. And we have linked the scent to the message and the message to the graphic, the description of the candle. So we do this with a lot of different candles, and we will grow them in the future. But in a nutshell, that's kind of like what the brand is. And again, there's an open mic. So if you guys want to add something, a little like details on how you actually see the brand, because it could even differ from how I see it, to be honest.
No, yeah, I think you explained it very well. And we kind of found the perfect balance with this product in terms of creating a product that could be different to what the current candles are, or trying to be different to what the current usual candles are. Creating a product that can give a powerful message and inspire, but also be able to create products which are a bit more funny out there and trying to get the attention and work very well within the current social media landscape. That's something I will definitely be talking a lot in this podcast and in future podcasts, because we feel we've designed a product that can call the attention, and we're trying to do that through social media and at the same time uh, provide powerful messages. That's why of the different moods, and that's the positive aspect of having different moods, so we can play around with those things. um, and yeah, and that's the mission, and that's the objective that we're working for. Maybe, yeah, we can mention we have already launched. We launched our
Mm-hmm.
website a couple of weeks ago. We have started with six candles, five candles as the basic original collection, and then we made a little special one for some special niche of people, which we found it would be very interesting to. We're going to be talking about all of that in this and future podcasts.
I would like to add actually that although we're trying to do Kindles different to what the industry, that doesn't necessarily mean that we think that the other Kindles are shit. That's not the point.
Yeah, yeah,
But
for sure.
we just like we basically we were very opportunistic in terms of the creation of the business. We basically identified this gap in the market. That's how I see it. Because there's a reason why 99.9% of the Kindles look the same. Why they are so minimalist and focused on a
Hmm.
certain. There's a reason for that, right? It's like in a way how the product was designed to be, but we also acknowledge that there's a lot of people that may want to use the product in a different way, just like us, right? Like we're people in the same way that our customers are, and we found this product like really cool and interesting. So other people may do it too. So yeah, we define ourselves. We sometimes say that we are not your average boring candles. I think it's just important to know that we don't necessarily look down other candles as well, right? It's just worth seeing. We basically saw a business opportunity here because people may like this product in the same way that we do, right? And it's something new and very exciting, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
uh,
just to add to that and just to summarize it quickly, I think it's just that we saw a great potential in candles that hadn't been used before. which is that before it was just focused on aesthetics, just on Ascend, just being minimalist, like Manu, like you explained very well. And we just thought like you could add a whole message to that, preserve the aesthetics, preserve a good scent, integrate everything together, and then actually have that get you in the right mood. So this
Hmm.
is all I think that needs to be said, and like that's what we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah. Should we say essentially how the idea started? Because we are
Yeah,
mentioning how, what we are trying to be and all of this, and that we saw a business need and all of this. But how did we actually come up with the idea? What day did we wake up and we said, let's actually do candles? So I think
yeah,
that's actually important.
definitely.
So I want
How did we come up, and why did we choose candles too? I think
exactly.
that's a good
So
question we haven't answered yet.
hmm so I want to add a little bit of background that Chris, Andy, and I, we were working in another brand. We still do at the same time. So we were actually being already exposed to the e-commerce industry and working with different brands in the social media landscape. So while we were doing this at the beginning of this year, 2022, we started to see how essentially Kindle's business were so popular, and they also became very popular in the pandemic times when
Hmm.
COVID-19 lockdowns and all of this. There are actually a lot of like success stories about just businesses booming for Kindle. So we had this idea in our minds, like what was going on, and the Kindles are really cool and all of that. Nice product, and easy in a way to market, very visual, very cool. But I think the wake up call for me was because I read a report from a B2B marketplace that was basically explaining how candles are like the number one product for stores, for gift shops and retail stores on the street. How it's like the hot product for like even more search in those platforms than Christmas. I was like, well, that's actually crazy. There's actually this is such a marketable product that essentially works for anyone also as a gift. So we realized at that point that the product was super cool and we wanted to do something. And then months and months passed until we actually said, okay, let's do it. And we started to work on the idea of how we could um, become a brand which is different. And this only happened in summer, right? I remember like Chris, Andy, and I, we were actually back in Thailand when we started to brainstorm a little bit about, okay, we're going to do a Kindle business. How do we do it? We need to do a little bit different,
Yeah,
something that resonates with us. And then we started to also work with Pablo, which is a high school friend of mine, right? And then the idea, yeah, it kind of started to like sink in, and we started to brainstorm a lot. We also should say that to develop what the brand is today. So that's kind of how it
yeah,
happened and why we jumped into candles. We saw a huge opportunity, and then worked to become different in that field.
Yeah.
yeah. I must say we've been working on the designs, on 6 designs essentially, for 5 months, just
Yeah.
working on the looks and the aesthetics and the messages and the text that we wanted to add and the idea behind every candle, making sure that it was aligned with what we wanted to do and that we could provide value with that. And I also want to add how with these other e-commerce brand that we've been working on the side also, we saw sometimes you see everywhere how brands sell and how popularized it is to create your own brand to sell to consumers, right? To end consumers. What we've learned is that that's becoming more and more hard over time. So social media is becoming harder to sell to because of competition and everyone trying to get in that space. And on the side, there's this uh, other big part of businesses that is not talked so much, which is B2B. So
Hmm.
essentially, we could say that also the candle product was chosen because, as what Manu said, it was the number one product sold as a B2B product. So we were like, this is a
Yeah.
huge opportunity for us to, because we were doing that already with our other brand, and we were seeing how actually sometimes it is easier to sell to a
Mm.
B2B than to a final customer that buys one unit at full price. We saw how
Yeah.
selling higher numbers of units at lower prices as a B2B sell was easier. So we had to tap into that opportunity. And as an initial concept, the candles were going to be designed for B2Bs. It is true that
Yeah.
over time we started thinking, and we also managed to make a product that is very B2C. It's very much designed for end consumers as it attracts the attention. We're trying to differentiate from competition. So I think we kind of managed to do a bit of both, design a product for both B2C and B2B. We'll see. The future time will prove us wrong or right, hopefully. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's also something to keep in mind, how we were working on B2B with we made the product for B2B with a high priority because we saw the opportunity there. And it's something very interesting and that we do not see that much being talked about, especially in social media. And if you do some research online, something that you learn by doing. So I think it's very valuable that we can share that and the experience of how, if you own your own brand, you should definitely be looking into creating B2B connections. It can help a lot.
Actually, I mean, I think that's a very important debate, and definitely something I want to touch on this podcast is this dilemma between developing a brand for B2B or B2C. But actually, before we jump into that debate, we dive into it. I want to acknowledge how in the development of this brand that happened over essentially when we really started was in summer 2022. We had this same thought. It's like, okay, we have experience and we know that the typical thing is to develop a brand for B2C. But for B2B, we see this opportunity. How do we do it? So I actually remember like so many brainstorming sessions with Pablo at my house, because Pablo and I, we were essentially from the same town. So this summer we were together, we managed to work together. And I think it's really interesting how all this very easy to say, okay, do I go for B2B or B2C or both? Like developing a product that specifically answers to these demands of like B2B or B2C world. It's actually pretty tough, and we really took the time to develop the product essentially perfectly so that it basically fulfills our expectations of this is a B2B product, but essentially can also be marketed B2C. So we kind of put a lot of effort into that. So a lot of creative effort and a lot of like testing. So yeah, what do you think, like Pablo, in terms of when we work in this summer and all of it, how have you seen this brainstorming process? Do you think like also, guys, do you think that we took too long with the process? Because we also like maybe overthought a lot of this development of the product in terms of like B2B, B2C, or specific details of the designs. But yeah, people, how do you see this process and do you think we've done well, like spending so much time as well of focusing on this part of the design of the product?
From my point of view, I think we overthought, but because it is difficult to create 6 different candles with 6 different designs, focus on what would you share on the social media, and at the same time how to convince the retail stores that this product will be sold well for the people. So I think we had some issues, and we made a lot of mistakes at the beginning, and we are going to talk later about this because I think it is interesting. And yeah, I think it couldn't have been better, but this is part of the process, and we were starting a new model of business. So I think we were like spending a lot of time, but it was necessary to be where we are today.
To Pablo, what he was saying, because I think it's very important this stage in the beginning, and you shouldn't rush that, because this is essentially where your brand starts, and you start with a few products and you develop those products. You develop the designs, you see how they look, but you need to keep in mind that the following products you're going to develop want to be similar to these products, so it all looks like one big collection, like it is identifiable as your brand's product. So this is a very important stage of a business development, because that's where your brand's identity comes from. And so I agree with Pablo. We definitely overthought this, because I mean, come on, we're crazy. It took us 5 months to develop like 6 labels and 6 boxes, which sounds ridiculous to anyone else. But it's a very important process that you don't want to rush. You really need to give it the time. And we also need to see that to create the brand and to set it up and make sure that everything runs smoothly from the moment we launch it, other thinking needs to go into all of this, because you don't only need the
Mm-hmm.
product, you need someone who's going to ship the product, you need somewhere to store the product, you need some legal structure, you need some financial structure, you need to have a plan of how you do social media marketing. So it's not only about the products, but there's a lot of thinking happening in the background before you're actually ready to start selling, whether it's B2C or B2B. But yeah, it took us some time, but I'm glad that we now finally managed to launch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think we can think a lot about how it's very easy to think that we waste a lot of time in a lot of the brainstorming calls and all of this. But at the same time, I think everything was needed, everything that we've done, and all of this overthinking, and also acknowledging to the title of this podcast, right, which is how to develop the Kindle business or any business really for 2023. I want to emphasize that our main tip, one of the main tips would be to invest enough time in the brand and the product. And I think this is something that we did. I think that would be like the two main tips to get it started. You do really need to take the time to craft the idea, right? And for us, the right moods, we essentially crafted it from zero. Like we were doing a brand which is unique, which is I think very important now in the space, because everything is very competitive space, right? For B2B or B2C. So your brand needs to be unique. And we took the time to do that, even though we think that maybe we had too many like brainstorming calls. Essentially, it was part of the process. So I think it's very important to give this also message that from our experience, it's all worth it. And you need to invest the time in developing the brand and also the product. Essentially, you can market and develop a brand that is very marketing-ish and all of this, but the product needs to be good. So we also took the time to work with Kindle producers and makers locally and understand what are the best type of products, the best scents, and all of this. So it's very easy to look back and see, wow, like we worked so much, maybe we could have been more efficient. But I'm actually pretty happy that we spend the time in the craft of the brand from zero, even like developing the logo, right? We did everything from zero and then shape the brand this way to be unique and to have a product which is very high quality. And then on top of that, we can add all of these little extras, right? In terms of the design and the little nuances of marketing of the brand. But we definitely took the time, as it should, I think, for the development of the product and the brand.
Yeah, and also it's important to notice that we are not full-time workers on this brand. We
Yeah.
are like we haven't explained this, but we are actually
Yeah.
me and Chris are students. Chris is studying medicine, which is a full-time career of itself. So it's important to know that. I'm studying mechanical engineering, which is also quite hard in my defense. We're also running a separate business out of apart from this one. Manu is
Yeah.
working. Pablo is also doing his own thing within the social media landscape. He has his own page. So this is essentially a side thing. And yeah, I mean, it's important to recognize that developing a product will take at least twice as much as you think it will take if you're thinking of starting your own brand. And also it requires a lot of time and sacrifice. I think it's cool to look back and see how at least I had when we had the pressure to submit the designs to the producer. It was my exam week, and I remember leaving the library at 8, rushing home and spending from 8 until 11, 12 sometimes, just working and brainstorming on the designs, and then waking up again early in the morning to keep studying. So it was a full-on sacrifice also from our side, because we are not full-time on this project. And that's also maybe one of the reasons why it took us a bit longer. It is true, though, that we need to acknowledge that the pressure of time does a lot. Because we could say a lot. Because we could say how in September we were not as efficient as we were in November, 3 weeks before, or 2 weeks before submitting the designs to the producer to be able to make it in time before Christmas, which we must say we've made it. So we are happy about that. We should like celebrate that win. We've done it. We've released the products before Christmas, because after Christmas would have been a big mistake. As January is the worst month to release the product, if even everyone knows, but it's the worst.
No, I know.
So I think we're
Also it's important to mention that the creative processes, the creation of the products was made remotely. So we
Yeah,
weren't
yeah,
together while we were designing the labels. So that's another
Yeah,
tip, that if you have the opportunity to be to create these things in person with your team or alone, I don't know, it's better to do it in the same place and work together,
yeah.
because it's so much easier.
It yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
yeah. But
huge
also,
advantage.
Sorry.
although it was, it would be definitely easier, like to be everyone in the same place. I think it's also really cool. Um, that we did it
Yeah.
remotely, honestly, because the people that are listening now, they are like, well, you know what, I have like some friends that could start a business, but
Hmm.
we all work all over we live all over the place. How do I even do it? I don't have a proper team or any proper office or anything like that. So I think people can also relate a lot to your situation. And essentially, it will be nice to have a team where everyone lives in the same
Hmm.
place, same office, but you don't have to, and I think
You don't
we
have
we
to.
are kind of proving
Yeah.
that, right? So I think that's also cool, and a key trait of our brand
Yeah,
identity as
it's
well.
also like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not impossible, and we've done it. Yeah, it was a limitation, but um, you can do it. So um, don't stop, and you
yeah.
can be an entrepreneur with your friends.
I
I
think
think there's a
we'll
very
make a video about all the designs that we've made. I think that would be very interesting to show. So I would say that if anyone's watching this first podcast, follow us on social media, because we'll show how we made those designs remotely through a very special software, and we'll show all the
Hmm.
designs that we've done, because we have a lot of designs. It was insane.
For now,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something else before we go on. Since you guys mentioned a lot of very good tips, I mean, just let me summarize a few of them. Was, I mean, taking enough time, planning it out, not being afraid that if you use too much time, and just being sure that it will take more time than you think. And this always happens. It happens to us all the time, that you don't meet your deadlines. But to make the product perfect, to make the process well, you that this needs to happen. And then what Pablo said, that you can develop it remotely, but if you can actually do it in person, that does add a lot of benefit. But yeah, don't be afraid. If you can't, then it does work remotely, like we're showing you right here. And I just want to add a little tip of my own, which is actually, I think, the most important one, or the most meaningful, at least to me, which is to choose the people that you start your business with wisely, because this is essential. The people that work
Hmm.
in your team, the people you work with, the people you interact with on a daily basis, and that you rely on, you trust in, these people need to be your family. And I'm very happy to say that, I mean, here in our team, like, I mean, we're all very well integrated. We know each other so well. We know
Hmm.
how everyone works. We know what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are. We've known each other for a long time. Andy and Manu, we've had the pleasure of working together for a number of years on the other
Yeah.
business, and that worked very well. So we really know the work dynamics extremely well now. Pablo, with you, I mean, we've lived together, so we know how we work, how we solve potential conflicts and all of that. And this is very crucial. I mean, if you want to start your own business, this is the main thing. You need to know who to start it with, what they can bring to you, what support they can give you, what you could maybe teach them, and how you can, well, work and live together in this. And it's a very important relationship. So that's just a
Yeah.
little from my side.
To be
No,
honest, we've been
100% agree.
incredibly lucky. At least I feel incredibly lucky, because I look at my surroundings and I do not see most of the time the commitment and the time and the motivation that it takes to do projects like this. So yeah, super
Mm.
happy, and I know the luck that I've had to meet you, all of you, and be able
Yeah.
to make this happen, because I understand now, after a few years of working on projects like this, how what type of person you need, and what type of drive you need to make things happen. Because yeah,
Absolutely.
again, coming back to
Yeah.
what we were doing, like working on the side, we are studying and we're working this on the side. You have to have a lot of drive
Mm.
to be able to come back from studying 8 hours a day and then sit down and have a discussion about the design. You know, it takes a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And that's also like another like unique trait of our brand is like it's essentially a result of like best friends working on something, having fun, and like trying
Hmm.
to be creative and all of this. That's also like a key trait. And definitely like as Chris said, super important. Like surround yourself with like good people that you can actually create a team, a proper team with. And you know, sometimes as well, like I think that also people can relate to this a lot. That people that you are close enough to start a business with don't live next to you, right? They're remote.
Hmm.
That's the situation we were in. So yeah, a little message that it is still
Mm.
possible to develop something great, even if remotely. But I do want to make a little parenthesis though to explain how do we do it remotely because people may be
Yeah.
thinking, okay, but who is making the Kindles, who is shipping all the products and
Mm.
all of this? So I think that's also important, you know, to go take a step back and kind of explain to the people or infrastructure in a way, like
Our
how have we
logistics.
organized
Yeah.
exactly logistics? How have we like developed the business to work remotely, which I think is actually
Yeah.
pretty special and something that maybe even
And
5 years ago, like it's a new
yeah,
concept. Yeah.
a little note that we have learned this by doing. None of us have studied this. None of us have been taught how to do this. So this is done by learning, by trying. So it's very important to have that in mind. But yeah, who would like to explain our very complex logistics?
I could try to give it a shot and just make it as
Yeah.
simple as I possibly can. I mean, what you said, Andy, it's very complex, and we haven't been taught this by anyone. It was all trying it out and making mistakes, trying it differently, and then maybe succeeding. And we did that with, well, our other business. So we had some sort of ground, some sort of foundation of how
Hmm.
to do this. Well, we actually carefully selected our supplier because that's another very important thing to have products that are produced well, that are produced to good standards, well, ethically. And we chose a producer from the UK who produces our candles from soy wax. So it's actually also environmentally friendly in some sense and very ecological. This supplier produces the candles. We had long talks with them to show them our objectives, what we want, what our timeline is, why we're doing this. They know exactly what we want to accomplish, and they work with us to achieve that, which is great. So they produce the candles. They do the packaging, the labels, the boxes. So all of that is done by them, and then the products are shipped to our warehouse in Austria. This is a fulfillment service that we've used with our other business already. So we have a good experience working with them. We know well how to work with them, what we can improve there, what needs to be taken care of to get the products from there to our customers very well, because they are the ones sending out the packages to the end customer. So they do the packaging in the boxes, put a label on, and then they have good connections to shipping carriers all over the world, and are able to send our packages out to where they need to be at a very competitive price. And since they're based in Austria, it's like kind of Central Europe. So they have a very, very good, they're near Vienna, so they have a good connection to the airport. There's rail, there's, well, motorways, so they have a very good connection, and it all kind of fits. And then essentially that's like the logistics. And because of this setup, we're able to work remotely.
Hmm.
Because if we had, let's say, an office, or if we stored our goods at the office and we would have to fulfill them ourselves, this would take up not only a huge amount of our time, which we certainly don't have anymore, unfortunately, but also it would just be, I mean, it would just be impossible and inefficient, because all of this would have to take place at one place. We would have to be in that place at all times. It would just be very complex.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's more or less our setup. I hope it kind of makes sense. But yeah, if you guys want to add anything that I haven't mentioned, feel free.
Yeah, I actually want to add, like my point, how I will really summarize is like you need to focus on what you're best at. You need to understand your limitations as well. So if your limitation is time, you cannot spend like 3 hours every day fulfilling orders and shipping them. That's also like something very important. So I think how we have developed, how you can develop your brand and your business for the years ahead remotely is by doing what you're best at and leaving the rest, delegating the rest, and partnering with people and businesses that can do those parts of the business that you can't in the best way possible. For candles, we realized that we have no experience making candles, and logistically, as we work remotely, it would be really hard. So we found the best possible partner in Europe, essentially, and we found it here in the UK. So we leave it up to them. They are the experts, and we trust them and work with them to develop the products that we want. With the warehouse and logistics, it's the same thing. They know how to do it best. They have the best infrastructure, logistics, and experience. So we trust them to take that care of that part of the business. Even the legal or accounting part of the business, we also leave that to the people that have experience submitting all of these company reports and things like that. So we also delegate that part of the business. Even within our team, like we focus on what we're best at, right? Like Chris, like is great, like keeping communications with customers and with these logistic parts, the warehouse and all of it. So he does it. Pablo is great, like developing content and social media. So he does that. So I think that's also like a really cool tip, like to summarize, which is that focus on what you're best at if you want to develop a business remotely. It's very important.
Yeah.
I have a
And
question because I
yeah.
think this is useful for the people to know. How do we guys found this supplier, or how can they find a supplier?
I think
Yeah.
I was also gonna add something like that. It's important that we didn't just straight away went into that full setup. We found those suppliers through essentially research on the internet. It has the answer for everything, and then essentially reaching out, talking with them, seeing how their service was, comparing, and then making a decision, and hopefully the right investment. But also, I wanted to add on top of that when we started with our other business, we didn't just full on went into having a fulfillment fulfillment service, having legal services. What we did start, of course, with a supplier that would provide the products because we couldn't do that ourselves. And then we started fulfilling orders from our house. We started getting more and more volume, and then we had the capacity to move our fulfillment to an external location and have it done by someone else, which the huge advantage of that, and if you can reach that within your business, is a big milestone because it frees up a lot of time. So you have much more time to be working on other aspects of the business, more in terms of strategy, instead of be fulfilling orders which someone else can be doing. So that's also something important. We didn't start just right away into having all of those services, and that once you manage to get to that, it's a very big milestone in that sense that it frees up a lot of time.
I was just reminiscing when you said that how we used to send orders from our homes. I was just reminiscing
Right.
about those times because there's a lot of good memories. I mean, when we got like
Yeah.
the first orders and the three of us would all go to the post office together. Like we were in school in lunch break, we would label the envelope, go to the post office and send it to, I think the first order was from Spain. We would send it to Spain. We then sent some envelopes to Hawaii, and it was so exciting.
Yeah,
You would know
for a
every single
promoter.
customer. It was really nice. It had a very personal touch. It was just not time effective. I mean, there was also a
Yeah.
summer where we decided to go on holiday in Spain and visit Manu. And me as a German guy, I was super excited to be at the beach and just enjoy Spain. But the reality was totally different because it ended up us spending the whole day inside. One was doing the bracelets themselves. One was labeling the envelope. The other one was putting it all together. And we were preparing, I don't know, hundreds of orders a day. And then just before the post office closed, we were the last people to get there, annoying the employees.
And annoying them, yeah.
With like
Yeah.
50 envelopes that could barely fit in the trunk of the car. And they would have to, stamp those and send them out like 10 minutes before closing down the office. But yeah,
Yeah.
and that was every single day for that entire week we spent there. And then I remember
Yes.
Manu was sacrificing his whole summer because he kept doing that when Andy and me were gone. So just good memories.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's a very cool part to see when you have a business. It's super. It's like it's hard work, but it's so cool to see how the volume and the scale of things when you receive the orders and you need to pack them and send them, and it's really cool. Good memories there.
Yeah, actually, as an experience, I would recommend people wanting to start their business to own that. Like, it's really cool to like be able to prepare the products yourself and ship it and all of it. It's actually really cool. But again, like I think a lot of people can relate. It's like, you know what, like I don't have the time or like the
Hmm.
logistics to do this. Like, so don't worry. Like, it's a cool part of the business, but you can delegate it. And we learned this and we do it this way now.
I
So
was
I mean, if you have any
actually,
questions, you can reach out to us and we'll tell you how
yeah,
exactly
definitely.
we did it. But yeah,
Also, I just wanted to add because maybe it seems like having your own warehouse that fulfills your own orders is something very expensive, but in reality, it is not that expensive, right? And maybe Chris, that you're managing that, you can explain a bit more on the financials of that. Because what we do essentially, we have a monthly cost, which is not that high. Like most no businesses which are running at a low level could potentially have, and then there's a cost fixed per order, which is very positive in terms of like you don't pay that if you don't get an order. Maybe you can add more because maybe for me when we were doing when we were looking into getting a fulfillment center, we were like it looked like such a big step and such a like I'm gonna have to spend so much money and to have to keep this is such a big risk for me. But in reality, it is not that big of a risk and it's not that big of a financial expense, right? If you can explain a
That
bit.
is that is a very good point that you're making because we were very reluctant in the beginning with starting this because we thought, okay, well, if we now someone else does it, it's going to be way more expensive. But actually, like you
Hmm.
said, it's way cheaper than one would think. Because so the first reason is that these fulfillment centers, they have many customers. They don't only store your product, they store products of, I don't know, 150 different companies at their warehouse.
Hmm.
So they send out an enormous volume of packages each day. And because of this great volume of packages, they have special contracts with shipping carriers. So they would have a very good offer from the top shipping carriers, adjusted to the volume they send out, receive great quotes that you, if you were to send that package out yourself, would never achieve. So we actually, the price it takes us to send out a package with express shipping is way lower than it would take me personally to send a package anywhere, if it's just one package. So that's the first reason. And then there's monthly costs, which aren't also that high because it's all done by the warehouse in bulk. So they save on that. They have an IT team. So the integration of our online shop to their software is done by them,
Hmm.
which is not very expensive. They are located in a place where storage is not that expensive. They're in a good location logistically, like near to the city, but they're not obviously not in the city center, where a square feet of space would cost you insane amounts.
Yeah.
So storing our products there is also cheaper than it would be for, I don't know, us to rent a garage next to where we live. So all of these factors make this experience way cheaper than it would be for yourself or it would be for ourselves to do
Hmm.
this. And yeah, that's a very interesting thing to think about because one
Yeah.
tip I could give is that look into that, choose someone wisely because you want someone to do the job well and you want really competitive prices. So reach out to everyone you find, compare the prices. But yeah, I would say there's definitely something good that you can get. So it's worth looking into.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Guys, I was actually I actually stepped away for a second earlier because I wanted to find one of these bags with all like the candles and samples of all the scents that we went through. No,
Yes.
actually, not all of them, like just like a fraction. But yeah, I thought about it because Andy was saying like how important it is to make the product like amazing and like work with like trusted like partners and businesses, right? So for candles, we also like basically we consider so many businesses, and we basically reach out. Honestly, not I don't know how people will find their suppliers. The way we did it was essentially through a Google search, like suppliers
Mhm.
here, there, in different countries, and then we reach out and we got some samples and starting the testing. So it's also like a really cool project, like the process. But you also definitely need to take the time to understand the quality of all the different candles and the samples, the scents, um, and yeah, essentially it's a really cool process that we went through, but also like really important, right?
Yeah. Also breaks your mind a little bit when you're smelling
Oh my
so many
God.
different scents and you need to choose which one's the best. Like we've been going up, like changing our decision on the scents like so many times,
Yeah,
because at one moment one smells better than the other one.
yeah,
But I think we've made a good decision, and also we found very good scents that align with the messaging and what the candle is trying to be, and relate that message with the scent, to get
yeah.
you into that mood. That's the whole point of our candles.
I want to like now talk a little bit about we talk a lot about the importance of creating a unique brand, the importance of focusing on the product, and
Hmm.
how we make it work remotely. So I think those are like great tips. But I want to like dive into sort of the growth strategies for the brand, the things that we have, how we have developed the brand to thrive for 2023 and the years ahead.
Yeah.
With this
It,
combination of a strategy between B2B, B2C, content creation. And I know like Paulo will have a lot to say about like content creation
yeah.
for social media and B2C and all of this. So yeah, just very.
Important important to note that we say, like, we still need to prove on
Mm,
this growth strategy. We just started. We
exactly.
have just started our social media channels. We have just started posting videos there. We still don't have the base of followers that we need to run a successful business. We're
Mm,
working on that, but this is our strategy to get to that point. Also implementing knowledge that we've gained through the last years with our other brand, and I think the products that we have now have a lot of potential within social media.
hmm.
And yeah, I think that would be cool to try to explain a little bit our idea and how we think we can take advantage of our products within the social media
So
landscape, and also in B2B,
yeah,
which
so
is
I'm
also
gonna try
important.
like summarize what also we were like discussing earlier, which is that we spotted this great opportunity for B2Bs. We think it's a growing space. The there are a lot of like marketplaces like growing a lot that connect stores to brands, so it's a big important trend. So we wanted to jump on this and capitalize on this B2B trend, and we designed the product this way. But also we acknowledge like B2C, although there are a lot of like challenges in the social media
Hmm.
landscape and all of that, is essentially how you connect with people. So we also wanted to develop a strategy that acknowledges B2C. Um, so yeah, like I also wanted to hear like Paula's opinion on B2C, because obviously we developed the brand to be able to be sold B2C, and we market it that way through all social media content. Um, but yeah, I want to like know from Pablo, because he also works on his like own personal content for coaching and like physical and mental health and all of this, which is really cool.
He has
So
been
I wanna
killing
know,
it, killing
yeah, he's
it on
been killing
social
it.
media, definitely.
Yeah. So I
Legendary.
want to know his perspective. I'm like very big on the B2B trend. I know he's like big on the social media and the development of communities and all of this. So like, yeah, Pablo, how do you see the social media landscape now? What is the case? What is the argument that you will tell a brand, that you will tell anyone to say, if you're developing a brand, you need to be in social media and develop a B2C
Mm,
strategy?
First, we need to talk about our product. Why? Our product,
Hmm.
candles, can be really well sold on retail, and for B2B are perfect. If you do it as the normal
Hmm.
candles that we've um, we've seen by doing research, it's easy to say, okay, this candle is it's good because it can be um, nice for decoration, for the scent, and in a good volume, low prices, they can be sold on retail B2B perfectly. What happens as we give to our products our personal values? Okay, we made a really personal product. It has become a product that for social media, for B2C, it's perfect because we create it in a way that we would buy it. So if
Mhm.
um, if we would buy it, and we are more or less our target, posting videos that we like are really
Mhm.
easy to convince other people or to make other people like our product. And yeah, why social media for this kind of businesses? Because now everybody is on social media. Now, tell me how many people um, is not on social media, and the facilities that we have now to buy from our phone are um, are great.
Mhm.
So our strategy now is create a lot of videos, a lot of volume, because you need to know that when you are trying to grow from zero in a social media platform, the algorithm now is rewarding a lot that you are posting every day, and that your followers uh, see you every day and can interact with you. So now we are creating
Mhm.
a lot of videos. That's our I like we use our time to create these videos. And
Mhm.
this is nice that we are filming, we are recording this podcast, because I can explain you that if you want to be more effective, more efficient with your time, now this is a really good way to create more content. Why? Because we are spending 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, uh, making a longer video that can be
Mhm.
clipped in shorter videos that can be posted or like in on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and other platforms. And this podcast will be on podcast platforms, YouTube. So if you create a brand now making longer videos to clip it on shorter videos, it's the way to use your time more efficiently, and also to have a good connection with your potential customers, or the people you wanna um, talk to from.
It's super interesting to see how social media and brands within social media are changing from when we started with our other brand. It was very corporate, it was very professional, it was about showing high quality videos and photos of your product. It has now completely changed towards authenticity and providing value. The brands that are thriving and the people who are having a brand and they're thriving, they're getting that engagement, they're getting that exposure through the algorithm, is because they are providing value and they are very genuine with what their product is, and explaining their journey. And that's what we're trying to do here. That's what we're motivated to do. We want to show how four young guys that had an idea starting this business, we want to document this, we want to share this. If we can provide good valuable information to people who are in similar situations or want to do something similar to our project, they can use. And also we see how that's the strategy that works within the current social media landscape, because that's what people will
Mm.
engage with, and that's what the algorithm will promote, and therefore we are compensated with exposure. We are uh, given eyeballs to see our product, and then we will be able to see if the product that we have designed is actually appealing to the people who are watching this, and if it provides value, and if people are willing and able to buy that product and support our cause and our project. So I think that's the really cool moment of how social media is at this moment. It's super exciting, I think. We have tons of ideas. We're trying to make a, a lot of different types of videos. The podcast is another idea that we think can be very useful and provide a lot of value. And we hope you can see us everywhere with this podcast. That's the idea. Linking towards that, another strategy that we still haven't implemented that we want to implement, and it's a bit more challenging, is what I was saying before. It's the paid advertisement through social media.
Mm-hmm.
It is an incredibly hard moment for that. So it's the complete opposite of organic content. It's like a hard moment in time to do paid advertising. We can relate a lot of our success, previous success, with our other business to paid advertising. Because a few years back, for the people who are listening and were into the world, you could be very cost effective at advertising a product and getting the follow on social media, the purchase, and that community through very cheap ads. That is not the case anymore. So that's something that we want to work very well with, create cool advertising campaigns, again, that provide value, are very authentic to our brand. And with that, we hope that those advertising campaigns will become successful and will bring the paid exposure that we want and the future customers that we need. It's a big challenge right now for small brands, especially if you don't have a lot of capital, as we've seen a lot of big players big brands getting into the advertising in social media because it has huge power.
And it goes with the content
Yeah,
creation,
go for it.
because I think our main focus now is organic growth. If you guys are planning to create a brand,
Mm-hmm.
or even sharing your ideas on the social media, I have a tip, and it is that show yourself on that platform as soon as possible. Why? Because now there's the trend that, no, it's not a trend, but people want to identify themselves to other people, no, to sympathize with other people. So sharing yourself, sharing your face on that social media platform, it's the perfect way to create a connection with your public and to create a community. I like to do this kind of stuff because I feel that um, we are communicating good values, and we are giving good tips to people that is the same as us, by something or through
Mm-hmm.
something that is bigger than us, that is our brand. And I do it by myself in my social media, but this is I like this more because it's not this egocentric way.
I was just saying, I wanted to say, I was actually doing like a little like diagram here. I think this is a good way to sum up or like B2C strategy. I mean, honestly, I don't know if you can even see, or if you're listening to this, this is not going to make any sense. But essentially, I was trying to make sense that we are trying to build a community. We think that this is the big thing now in
Mm-hmm.
B2C landscape. And how we're trying to do this? We're trying to do this through virality, in terms of like having a product and type of content which can go viral because it's very catchy and all of that. That's how it is, you know. That's how social media landscape is as well. We have like a lot of videos, and you very quickly you're gonna decide if the video is good or not. So you need to do stuff that is gonna be sticky and it can go viral. And then also another key pillar is authenticity. That's what people want now, and that's what we're trying to be as well within our brand. And then also content scalability. As I said, like the algorithms on these platforms are pushing for a lot of content, a lot of volume. So you need to develop a strategy that allows for this content scalability, as we're trying to do here in this podcast. Is we film
Yeah.
long format, and then we make clips potentially.
I would just add with this thing, which I also think it's quite important, which is about corporate responsibility and how we also want to link the brand a little bit towards supporting mental health organizations, explain why we want to do that, why we believe it's important, and a little bit of our strategy with that, which I think is very interesting. I think we are in a day and age where it is highly valuable for a business to have corporate responsibility and be able to provide and use some of the profits that this business makes to do good. And for our business, the Right Moods, we're thinking towards supporting mental health organizations. The reason why is because, of course, our candles have very direct messages in terms of ways of feeling and moods, different moods that you feel. So we want to partner with organizations that also support and are aligned with that sort of cause and branding behind. So yeah, I think Chris has been working on that also on the side. He has been contacting different organizations, and it's something that we're going to be doing and working on in the future. I don't know if you want to add some information surrounding that can be useful.
Well, you've explained already a great deal. Manu and me have actually been working on this together,
Manu too.
looking into that. But yeah, I mean, this is something we saw with our other business as being very successful. That was the foundation of our other business idea. That's why we got into all of this in the first place, was to actually experiment and see if a business can be, well, ethical at the same time and make profits to sustain itself, but at the same time give back to the community as much as possible and contribute in a positive way and kind of close the circle and just make this whole. And that's what we want to do with the Right Moods now. And the obvious topic with moods and different kind of moods and feelings is mental health. And it's a very important topic. It's a topic that's very dear to me personally because, well, studying medicine, you see a lot of things. You have patients, you know, everyone struggles. Everyone goes through hard times. We all know that. We all have those days. And what for us might not be very impactful, for others it is. And it can be very, well, complex to go through such difficult times. And there's people who are really struggling and let's say who have very negative thoughts at times, who are very distracted. And if there's a way to help them get out of that crisis, out of certain depressions, out of bad feelings, then this is a great objective. And if we can, well, bring our candles out to the world and show it to people and get great feedback, but at the same time help people who are struggling, who are in a difficult time, and that require more help by donating to mental health charities, then that's a great deal. And if that works out, I would be more than happy. I mean, my objective here would be fulfilled if we can combine all of this and just make this a whole project. We're still, well, thinking about who we donate to and how we're going to do that exactly. We're actually working on this right now. So there's going to be more details of that coming. But I can assure you that we will do that. And I will show you on the website how it's done. We're going to do that as transparent as possible. So yeah, that's all I can say for now.
I think it's fair to say that we're like believers that you can do business and you can also do good. For like you can give back to your community or you can give back to the environment. So starting with this thought, although the Right Moods is not a brand necessarily like focused on like social good or like environmental good and all of this, because by the end of the day, our purpose or focus is on creating products that are great experiences to be enjoyed by our customers. We also are attracted to giving back in any way, right? So one of the commitments that we're made is being part of like 1% for the planet, right? Which is basically a charity, an NGO that makes sure that businesses that are members donate at least 1% of the revenue of any money coming in to this type of like charities and social projects, right? So we're going to be doing that. At least 1% of revenue is 100% going to go towards this. Most likely we will focus on mental health, as you guys mentioned. We also try to do more stuff, right? Trying to combine business and also giving back. For example, our newsletter when someone signs up,
Mm-hmm.
for every 10 people, we want to plant a tree, right? And we will be doing that. So it's also another way how I think we're trying to link this sustainability and this being able to do good with business.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge trend. We don't necessarily do it because it's a trend, but definitely it will be my tip to give to anyone if he's considering to start any project or business, to consider this like a aspect of business, right? Or like giving back
Yeah.
and doing good. Very important.
It's such a cool idea. I think Manu found that idea of some other brand was doing it, of like, if you subscribe to my newsletter, we will plant certain trees. Of how many people subscribe to the
Hmm.
letter, we'll plant that many trees. I think it's super cool how that has changed from what it usually is. I'll give you a discount so you benefit from it, and then you subscribe. But we are so used to seeing that it's not even encouraging enough. It's not
Yeah.
good for anyone, because the person that's getting the discount is usually nothing, like 10-15%, which is really not that big of a discount. The company is losing out because you're making less profit. It's less good for us to be selling that product at a lower price, and
Hmm.
it's not helping the environment anyway. So this is such a good idea. Let's just say that for every 10 people we plant a tree. The person that sees that is like, oh, interesting, I've never seen that. You want to subscribe because you're doing good and it costs you nothing, and also the company is encouraged to do good in that way. So I think it's a perfect, like, small thing, but it's so perfect in that way that we can do that, and we're super happy to implement those strategies. I think they're the best.
I also think
Yeah.
since we want to be more transparent with all the donations, all of that. Right now, we can't give any numbers because we haven't run them yet. We don't know how it's going to be set up yet. But I think it's important to also understand how these numbers work, because when you hear 1% of revenue, we're like, okay, 1%, like 99%. What happens to that? Like 1% is
Hmm.
nothing. But you do need to understand, and we've had this problem a lot with customers, that it was often people weren't aware of what that means. With our other company, we donate 25% of profits, but 1% of revenue, you need to think, is the money that you get from a sale before you subtract the shipping cost, before you subtract the taxes, the storage cost, before you subtract any monthly cost. So a lot of expenses go out, but even before that, in the first place, we donate. So
Hmm.
this is something very important to keep in mind when looking at these numbers. That actually, although it looks like 1% is very little, it might be more than you think. And at the end of the day, I think any amount, any donation is good, because it's better than nothing.
Hmm.
That's something I want to mention on the side when talking about these numbers, because I think it's very important to understand them. And what might be obvious to us, as we're used to this business terminology, it might not always be clear
Yeah,
to the
that's
rest
true.
of our audience.
Yeah. Just
Hmm.
to throw a little number there, usually 60% of revenue is all costs. 60-70% of revenue is all costs. So
Hmm.
just to have paint a picture of, you might be selling a lot and you might have a big number in terms of revenue, but most of that is costs,
Yeah,
especially
And think
shipping
100%.
about,
costs and production costs are extremely high.
and then also think
Just
about
to say.
that when, I mean, that's a good number, Andy, because 60-70% are costs. But now think, if you buy the product at a 20% discount, there's 20%
Hmm.
less revenue, but the costs don't change, because you're still selling the same product. It still takes you the same amount of money to ship it, the same amount of money to store it, and taxes, well, are going to be slightly lower. But at the end of the day, if you buy a product at a discount, the costs are roughly the same. So even more so, it's just
Yeah,
nothing different for us.
definitely. So maybe we want to start ending the podcast. I had an idea in mind how we could end the podcast. There's someone put down here in the notes how and when do we use candles and what are our favorite candles. So maybe each one of us could say that if you want. I don't know if it's a good idea or not.
I think it's a good idea. Let's just go ahead. I
Okay.
mean, start. If you want, I'll go ahead and start.
Yeah, you can start.
I mean, since I study a lot, or I should be studying a lot, mean the same thing. I think for me, the focus and the motivation candles are the ones I'm going to be using most, or that appeal to me most, because yeah, I do really need to save that time of the day, besides taking care of the right moods, taking care of our other business, to study. So to do that, I think for me it's very important to focus, get down in the mood, and just focus on my studies, to manage everything at the same time.
Yeah.
And then when the time comes and I do have some free time, I think lighting up the good vibes candle is also the way to go.
Bro, maybe you can get the sexy mood candle, so you can spend your time in a better way than studying. No?
Yeah, de-stress a little bit, right?
Maybe I could do that too. I
You
mean,
could
I have
use it.
been
It will
listening,
help you for sure. It's
so
scientifically proven to help you de-stress. But I think the candles are perfect for this, for what Chris was saying. It's like it is so good to sit down, light up that candle, get that little vibe going, especially if you're at night studying, which I am a person that studies at night. It smells good. You can relate that scent to the moment you're in, and then it kind of like helps a lot. I've done it with these ones, and they are not even the final scent, and it's already pretty good. Yeah, for me, my favorite candle, I think it will be the Good Vibes Only, because I love the scent that we chose. I cannot wait to have it and smell it for the first time, because it's coconut and vanilla, which I think I will love. And I will be lighting that candle up every day in the morning to get the smell in my room, just to have it all the time there. That's my favorite, and the one that I will be burning through the most.
Nice. Yeah, so I want to say like my favorite candle actually is the relaxed one. Uh, I don't know, honestly, like I think it ticks all the boxes for me. Like, yeah, honestly, like we work a lot, we're always stressed, and this candle, like for me, perfectly like fits the purpose of just relaxing, like trying to find this balance. The scent also goes very well. It's really relaxing. It essentially feels like you are in a spa, like in the Southeast Asia. That's essentially how the scent is developed and how I feel when I light up the candle. Um, so yeah, also the graphics that we put on it, I think they're really cool.
Yeah.
They're essentially like the yin and yang and the meaning of balance with stars and things like that. I think it's really cool. I like the blue as well. So yeah, also in the future, I think I would like to also develop more products that are into this type of meditation or like this relaxing theme. I think it's really cool. That will be my favorite one.
nice.
For
Nice.
me, it's difficult to choose, okay, because I could use them all in like during my day, as you feel in different moods during the day. But I love the message of the motivation mood candle, and as well as the graphic, because
Let me show you.
we could explain it in another podcast, like which is the message of every candle. But yeah, the motivation one that has the 1% better every day, that message is really good. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so good.
And I can have it in my desk, or yeah, maybe work, study, or even to create that mood of, okay, let's start another day
Yeah, let's get
and
it.
be a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Right.
nice.
for the last
So
one, since this one hasn't been mentioned, the light up for sex candle. I think, well, I would use that one either when I see my girlfriend,
hey,
or Christmas is coming
hey,
up and Manu's birthday is coming up. I think I would probably gift it.
Ah,
hey.
come on, man.
Gifting
Give
your
my
own product, man. You're just gonna gift your own product to someone else within the company.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, sure, why not?
No, it's a great
Supporting the
it's a
brand.
great gift, to be honest. I would say if the people who are watching this is the first time you hear about us, which most likely it will because of how the algorithm work, and because we just started, go follow us on our social media. We are at the right moods on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. Also, we have a Facebook page, which we'll see. I mean, we're also posting there. And if you want to see the candles we've been talking about, because we'll see if I put pictures or not when I edit. But just go to the website and you will see the candles and you will see what we're talking about.
Yeah,
So
let
yeah,
us
I
know
think
what's your favorite one.
definitely
Yep.
let us know. Give us feedback on the comments. Let us know if you think it's a good idea, the whole business, what's your favorite candle, just let us know as much as we can, and we will be talking about it on future podcasts. So I think that's it for our first podcast. Hopefully it was good.
Nice.
Yeah,
And
I think it could be nice to explain or to tell in a quick way what are we going to do in future podcast, because maybe people want to know more, and if they have
definitely,
come to this moment at the end of the podcast,
if you're here,
if you're here, maybe it's good for you to know what are we doing in the next one.
So
Yeah, I
following
think
go for it.
okay, thanks. No, like I think what we will be doing is just it will be very flexible. We may talk about like all type of stuff, maybe about business, about some specific details of the product, the development process, or maybe one day we just like film a podcast, having coffee, and then just talking for whatever, right? Even brainstorming sessions we could do. So it's gonna be like really open mic in a way. But we will also try to go into specific themes. For example, we may be talking about why we chose this specific colors or designs in the candles, right? Or this scent, or idea for like future development of projects, candles, or even how we're doing managing or product placement in stores and things like that. So you can get very specific, but I think also generally it's going to be a little bit of an open mic to share our experience and the process of developing and growing the brand.
And let us know in the comments what you want us to, if you have questions, what do you want us to talk about? If anything that you might be interested in, we might help you because we have some experience with it. So just let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks for listening, and tune in on the next one.
All right.
you.
Ciao, guys.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.